The creative wording in May's divorce deal can't disguise the ambiguity in the agreement regarding the Irish border. Andy RainEPA Paris, the size of relief in Brussels, London and Dublin may not last long. To be sure, the first phase divorce settlement Britain struck with the European Union early Friday morning keeps the show on the road. It will greatly reduce the risk of a no-deal, cliff-edge Brexit in 2019, a result that would inflict major economic damage on both sides of the English Channel and of the Irish Sea. It could also convince some banks and companies to put on hold plans to relocate jobs and production to continental Europe in the next few months, while the two sides discuss a transition period and the outlines of a future trade relationship. London was desperate to start that second phase of talks before businesses voted with their feet and left the UK. Friday's agreement also gives welcome legal security to 3 million Europeans living in Britain and 1 million Britons dwelling on the continent. And yet, fundamentally, the deal doesn't add up. Its creative wording can't disguise the ambiguity in the agreement regarding the Irish border, an issue that's primed to get much trickier during the next phase of negotiations. I never realized you could have a border without a border, but I was obviously wrong. Peter Guilford. How do you keep regulations aligned between the United Kingdom and the EU to avoid a hard border between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, as Theresa May has promised, while simultaneously insisting that Britain will leave the single market and the customs union and preserving the constitutional and economic integrity of the UK? I never realized you could have a border without a border, but I was obviously wrong, said Peter Guilford, a former British EU official who runs a Brussels consultancy. Now let's see how they create a single market without a single market. The wheels have to come off somewhere. It was the Irish border question that nearly caused negotiations to derail this week when Northern Ireland's Democratic Unionist Party, on which May's minority government depends for its survival, rejected the initial text she had negotiated with EU and Irish officials. And there's nothing in the agreement that indicates it has been answered. EU chief negotiator Michel Barnier appeared to acknowledge that 5 days of redrafting had merely glossed over the problem rather than truly resolving it. No one should underestimate the difficulties we will face on this issue, he said. Nobody. Barnier briefs the press after the Juncker and May's statement. Olivier Hasletapa. The only way to square the circle would be for the UK to continue indefinitely observing EU rules, norms and standards like Norway, not just during a transition period but as part of a future trade agreement, without becoming a formal member of the European Economic Area. That ultra-soft form of Brexit would blow far past the red lines of Leave campaigners who vowed to take back control of legislation and national borders and cast off the yoke of EU bureaucrats and judges. It would leave Britain as a rule-taker instead of a rule-maker. British officials are insisting that a commitment to regulatory alignment is limited to areas such as agriculture, which affect intra-Irish trade, and the application of the 1998 Good Friday Agreement that ended 3 decades of civil strife in Northern Ireland. But even that would cause deadly disagreements within May's Tory party. Former Brexit Minister David Jones warned to maintain EU regulation in that area may inhibit free trade agreements with third countries. The Brexiters have not said their last word. They will want to reassert Britain's sovereign right to diverge from EU regulations. For now, the Conservative standard-bearers of Brexit are giving the Prime Minister the benefit of the doubt, claiming the deal is a victory. Never mind that London has essentially had to accept the EU 27's divorce terms lock, stock and barrel, including net payments to the EU expected to reach at least €50 billion over time and an 8-year oversight by the European Court of Justice of EU citizens' rights after Britain leaves. Environment Secretary Michael Gove, a leading cabinet hardliner, said May had won. He even endorsed the extended role for the ECJ as providing a period of certainty. Gove and his fellow Brexit crusaders seem so anxious to ensure that Britain leaves the EU on time with no way back that they have embraced financial, judicial and regulatory concessions that they had previously vehemently opposed. For the same reason, they may well now accept the EU's strict terms for a transition period after March 2019. Brussels insists that London will have to stay in the single market and customs union during that period of at least 2 years, respecting all EU rules including unrestricted free movement of the bloc's citizens into the UK, and continuing to make budget payments. The only thing that will change is that Britain will no longer have a seat at the table. Environment Secretary Michael Gove, a leading cabinet hardliner, said May had won. Christopher Furlong. Getty Images. Friday's deal papered over deep differences in the ruling Conservative Party over the trade-offs that still lie ahead, between market access and permanent acceptance of EU rules. The crunch will come when Britain and the EU have to define their long-term relationship. May and EU governments have a common interest in postponing that moment as long as possible, both to avoid economic disruption and in the hope that public opinion may shift. The obvious way would be to make the transition period renewable by mutual consent, since legal experts say it may take up to 5 years to negotiate a free trade agreement. The Brexiters have not said their last word. They will want to reassert Britain's sovereign right to diverge from EU regulations. A blow-up has been averted for now, but the fundamental contradiction inherent in the Irish deal is bound to return to haunt the negotiations. Paul Taylor, contributing editor at Politico, writes the Europe at Large column. View comments posted on 128-17-941 PM said I understand it perfectly political because I love cherries and cherry picking. Lovely. At European well for once you understand. Yes, trade but without any responsibilities. I love cherries. Thanks posted on 128-17-943 PM said at Antione. Thanks Antione. Yes, that's called cherry picking. Trade with EU, trade with everyone else and no free movement, ECJ or hard border in Ireland. Tawex love you guys cheerio now posted on 128-17-945 PM said hard not to notice. The minor language change essential to secure DEP support referenced only trade. It ignored people. I suspect an invisible border anyone resident in either the EU or the UK rather undercuts the Brexit reason of securing the border. Posted on 128-17-949 PM said at just once, EU didn't back down, quite the opposite. EU did back down, only that the shape of the final solution can be decided later. Yes, I see now, you mean, it backed down. Posted on 128-17-949 PM said at Antoine I think sanity prevailed and the EU accepted the UK's argument the border could not be settled until a trade deal was known. Both, in anticipation of a deal, agreed to make a little compromise to secure that goal. Nothing wrong with a degree of common sense. Posted on 128-17-955 PM said the Little Englanders have to realize that NI is a EU member and that they can't use it for their trade deals in a Brexit world. Either the Little Englanders do with the EU or not. To use NI as a way out for EU trade is cowardly. Let the Little Englanders trade with their ex-colonies. Posted on 128-17-955 PM said it's quite simple, alignment has no legal basis in either UK law or EU law. It can be anything and nothing. Plenty of wiggle room for the UK to do as it pleases and claim alignment. It certainly isn't adherence. Divergence was a much trickier term as that is less open to interpretation. Same with the costs of moving the EMA out of the UK. No legal obligation whatsoever to pay anything, just a vague statement about considering how to reduce the costs. Posted on 128-17-959 PM said it adds up enough for both sides, and involved UK parties, to agree to it. Difficult to go back on that now. The EU have one hand on the money, everything else is just politics. Posted on 128-17-1000 PM said at Yellow it adds up perfectly when your mind acknowledges that the EU buckled and started trade talks and UK cherry-picking. Seeing Michael Gove and Boris's smiling faces should help the pro to understand the other option to deny the truth and say it doesn't add up is to use 1984 doublethink where you simulate and easily understand trade talks are starting and trade talks means we have left the summoned CU, but believe maybe UK is staying in the summoned CU and yet there are going to be trade talks as a non-US MCU member. Yes, I can see why they are confused. Doublethink does that to you, if you're not careful. Posted on 128-17-1036 PM said the UK is in a terrible mess. They have bid for a Grand Slam and yet hold no honours cards. It is absurd. Frankly, they could save everyone a lot of time by simply agreeing to stay in the EU while issuing a press statement that they have left. This is what will happen, so it makes sense to do it now rather than in 3 bad-tempered years. Posted on 128-17-1044 PM said it Poor Paul has trouble understand that the start of third-party trade talks is definitive proof that UK is leaving EU, USM and CU. Trade talks are not needed otherwise it Paul have a think, eh? There's a good lad. It's called UKCHERRYPICKING. I like cherries. You'll catch up soon with reality. Posted on 128171048 p.m. said it Peter G. Movement of people, or more specifically British Irish citizens only, is covered by the Common Travel Area Arrangement, which does not extend to citizens of any other countries. Posted on 128171054 p.m. said what some of you do not seem to grasp is that this whole withdrawal process is not a negotiation. It is a process to minimize damage. Pascal Lamy put it more or less in those terms. UK has set clear red lines in its approach to future relationship with the EU. You want no sum, no CU, no ECJ, those choices reduce your options. On top of that, you are the junior partner in this jolly ride, so you will follow EU's lead. Sooner you accept the realities of the facts, the sooner you focus on your real issues. Like how are you going to replace and renegotiate about 750 FTAs, bilateral treaties and MRAs that will become void for the UK in March 2019, never mind to sort out your business with the EU. At Wow, Jack et al. We had this same conversation last summer, when most of you were hyperventilating about the financial matters. 180 days later and no shred of reality has sunk in. What is it going to take, gents? Farage breaking his comedy act after 20 years, saying I just FCU ked with you all. Too funny? Too soon? Posted on 128171055 p.m. set good article Mr. Taylor. Posted on 128171129 p.m. set the only real issue was the money, and everyone knew it's impossible to figure out the UK-Irish border in isolation from the overall trade deal. What works on the island of Ireland should also work for services as well as for Gibraltar. Posted on 128171138 p.m. said it Bob, I can tell you that for the EU the money was a question of principle, nothing more, nothing less. We only ever asked for mutually agreed methodology. That is finally solved. No headline sums needed, just agreement. Now, the border is a little more complicated, albeit only from the human misery point of view. Legally it is simple. UK stays in sum and CU, no problem. NE stays in sum and CU, no problem. If NE does not conform to rules of sum and CU means border. Now, UK has guaranteed to safeguard the Belfast Agreement GFA, and today's UK signature on the withdrawal agreement draft confirms and narrows UK's scope of wiggle room. This also means that UK has to come up with the border solution now. No deal fallback position is UK having to keep alignment with EU's rules and regulations. There, in other words, is precious little to negotiate. Sure, we can set up the framework for future FTA, but in the meanwhile, you have more pressing matters to solve than squabble with the only entity that will keep UK Inc. floating. Gibraltar will be between you and Spain. Remember to speak nicely, keep Franco out of the chat, and for the love of God, keep Boris at home. Posted on 129171202 said it baffles me that the Little Englanders don't simply leave the EU officially after paying whatever the EU requires of them. The Little Englanders can enjoy their lovely countryside, and call back all of their relatives living in EU sunny shores. Tea and scones and Brighton fish chips, pork pies, Yorkshire pudding, and the other delicacies the English are so fond of. On their weather they have it all. What the hell are the Brits doing in the EU continental shores? Posted on 129171224 said, UK agrees to keep its regulations aligned with EU regulations. Is the fallback option of no deal. Also in the document is, nothing is agreed until everything is agreed. A clear fudge by both the EU and UK to move on to trade talks. The Irish have been played, and not for the first time. Posted on 129171246 said it Daniel Carrick-Tyos was consulted before the agreement and he approved it. The UK has committed itself to no hard border even if no solution is reached. NE will align its regulations with EU's. Last sentence about the Irish is ridiculous and unnecessary. Posted on 129171258 said it Daniel Carrick, there is a separate track for the border issue in phase 2 of the talks. I do not know if the Irish still have veto officially, but they sure do have a strong position. EU 27 strong, I'd say. Posted on 12917-203, said it Finn, I have no idea why you come and spout your own subjective opinion with no facts whatsoever and think anyone whatsoever will listen to you whatsoever. Your opinion is worthless. Stick to facts. Cheerio now. Posted on 12917-643, said Finn, you say things like this at Bob, I can tell you that for the EU the money was a question of principle. You can't tell anybody nothing. Stop making up rubbish, you know nothing. Your whole answer to Bob was rubbish, subjective nonsense. Posted on 12917-644. Said the contradictions in terms are a consequence of the contradictions in the British demands. What Brexit really means is leaving the EU but remaining at the same time. At the end of the process, Brexiteers and Remoaners should all be satisfied indeed. The Irish border issue is very typical of that. A closed border to assert sovereignty but keeping it open to keep the trade flowing. Be ready for more calls to be creative. Posted on 12917-647. Said amazing how quite some Brexiteers don't understand the problem regarding the border and how this endangers their celebrated Brexit as if they had a massive blind spot. I wonder though how Johnson and Gove managed to smile. They should be able to see the contradiction. So I suppose what they think about Ireland's border problem and about the paper whose ink just dried must be something along the lines of go whistle or just FCK off. But as at least part of UK seems serious about promising and no border danger still looms that the border renders Brexit completely useless. And May and Remainers might use the border as a leverage in UK, not in Brussels, in order to stay close to some. Posted on 12917-743. Said at Finn, no deal fallback position is UK having to keep alignment with EU's rules and regulations. You are sure this is still binding in case of no deal? Can't but imagine as this is linked to phase 2. But it would be a great joke. UK not only rendering a future Brexit with FTA to a state of nonsense but also closing the door to no deal and WTO, all just in one stroke. Posted on 12917-752. Said at TPK amazing how you don't understand the Good Friday Agreement, which delineates areas, energy, agriculture, food safety and transport, among them and Ireland and UK are by international law obliged to stand by, which overrides the EU. WTO can be overridden by an international treaty, also. Get a grip, you know nothing at all. Educate yourself and stop being a fool. Boris and Gove are right, which is why they are smiling. EU cannot refuse alignment with NI. The GFA does not say NI has to stay in the single market, it says they have alignment with Ireland. This also does not mean that NI has to what Ireland wants. If NI has to be in some, then it is equally argued Ireland will have to leave EU and align with the UK. It is a fair international treaty. Not subject to your ridiculous rosette-tinted glasses of what you wish the EU was. Posted on 12917-755. Said at TPK at Finn I the event of a no deal, the fallback position is that the divorce agreement becomes invalid. It clearly says so at the bottom of the last page. Nothing's agreed until it's all agreed. But the EU should not expect the same level of access to the UK market that it had before unless it gives concessions. We want a fair deal, fair to you and fair to us. Slightly smiling face. WTO is no disaster, CETA is better, CETA is perfect and will allow you more access to the UK market. Posted on 12917-904. Set boring little Brexmoaners. Posted on 12917-906. Said is that the way the EU likes to work, create unsolvable problem like a euro currency with a fiscal union, aggressively expanding its borders without an army to support these claims, or in the case of Northern Ireland ask for alignment, form a non-EU country. As long as you create borderline policies, you create havoc and misery in families who just want to live a normal life, that is, have a say in your own decisions. Posted on 12917-914. Said that's the way the EU prefers to work, create problems and then come with a so-called solution, which in effect is nothing else than accepting the rules and their ideology. Nothing new under the sun. Posted on 12917-924. Said Brexmoaners lied on everything, all promises ECJ, no access to some, no cherry picking, no Empire 2, no huge kick trade deals around the world, no renovated Royal Britannia yacht, ha ha ha, no European agencies, Emma, no Europe, huge divorce bill, no clearance, no financial passporting. UK is now a vassal country for the EU, semi-hard border in the Irish Sea and so on. Brexitist immigration is going to continue, EU citizens protected in UK. UK is a laughingstock on the world stage, Scotland will be independent soon, London is burning and so on. Cheerio Doritos. All posted on 12917-932. Said it, wow, Jesus you are deluded, Ireland isn't going to leave the EU. Ireland is Ireland. 96% of the population on the Isle of Ireland want in on the EU project. As much as the bigot brigade hate to admit it, they got a spanking from Theresa for humiliating her. Whether the DUP can see it or not, this is the UK trying to give back the North. Arlene wasn't happy with the text industry, said they ran out of time, which in other words was Theresa saying, sit down and shut up. For any unionists out there, keep repeating the phrase, full alignment. Now for the EU to help the bigots understand how a wet border will work. Posted on 12917-946, IMSET looking forward to a fair trade deal now, one that's fair to the EU and fair to the UK. But the EU should not expect the same level of access to the UK market it had before. The level of EU access to the UK market will of course be entirely dependent upon the trade agreement it agrees to, but you get nothing for nothing, and nothing is what is agreed unless everything is agreed. WTO is acceptable, CETA is fine, CETA is great. It all depends on what access the EU wants to the UK market and what it will give in return. Posted on 12917-948, IMSET area. I'm not deluded, thanks. I was quoting the Good Friday Agreement. The GFA does not mention anyone has to stay in the EU. It does say alignment between NI and Ireland has to continue. There are two ways. 1. NI follows Ireland. 2. Ireland follows NI UK. Do you think the international treaty would have been signed if it only favored the EU Ireland? No, you are delusional about international treaties. I didn't say Ireland was going to do it, so your rant is just subjective nonsense. The UKNI is not going to follow Ireland either. It has been solved with equivalence. Cheerio now. Posted on 12917-1002, IMSET at Europan. It baffles me that the Little Englanders don't simply leave the EU officially after paying whatever the EU requires of them. We are, and we have. That part is all agreed and sorted. We have now moved on to trade talks. Posted on 12917-1015, IMSET Bandab. That creative pile of fudge didn't last long, did it? Did anyone expect short-lived goodie? Hard landing ahead. Posted on 12917-1059, IMSET retired broker. That's the way the EU prefers to work: create problems and then come with a so-called solution, which in effect is nothing else than accepting the rules and their ideology. Nothing new under the sun. True. And they can do it with us every time because we are too busy eating sour cherries. Posted on 12917-1103, IMSET. I see Priscilla is posting under my user nick again. No one reads your posts, my dear. She just can't keep her hands off my cherries. Slightly smiling face. Posted on 12917-1127, IMSET. I do apologize, girl, if my cherries taste sour. I will wash them for you. Posted on 12917-1130, IMSET at wow in 49. UK guarantees to maintain a frictionless border in Ireland. I can't see how UK should be able to change its own tariffs and regulations in a sensible way for an FTA without forcing EU to start customs control in Ireland. Posted on 12917-1220, IMSET. Congrats to May. Northern Ireland got what they wished. To not be left outside UK. Anyway, NI will get their hard border if UK aren't able to sign a trade deal before 2019. I just wonder how long UK government is able to continue negotiating and not govern UK. These negotiations are taking so much of their time. Luckily Barnier insists that UK comes with the plan before the trade negotiations start, and they will start 02/2018. So practically UK has 5 months to come out with a draft. If UK isn't able to come out with a draft, EU and UK are able to start working on. UK can only hope for a transition period or a hard border or an agreement before 2019. If it's an agreement before 2019, the word special can't have a practical meaning. Posted on 12917-1228, IMSET. This is a very precise analysis. I would add 2 points. 1. The text mentions the all-island economy now and in the future as the area for regulatory alignment, not just specific cooperation areas in the GFA. 2. 3 years is a long time in politics. May is not necessarily around at the end of the standstill period, and Northern Ireland will have changed. So we'll have the economic facts because Brexit clearly has negative dynamics. This brings the EEA option and even Irish unification into the picture. None of the predictions of the hard Brexiteers have materialized, and they will keep getting it wrong. Posted on 12917-143, IMSET. Jackboot. I see Priscilla is posting under my user nick again. No one reads your posts, my dear. She just can't keep her hands off my cherries. I wouldn't let anyone but myself suck your tiny little cherries. Booty. Cheerio now. Posted on 12917-220, IMSET at TPK. Good question. A couple of points. 1. Quote, this report is put forward with a view to the meeting of the European Council Article 50 of 1415 December 2017. Under the caveat that nothing is agreed until everything is agreed, the joint commitments set out in this joint report shall be reflected in the withdrawal agreement in detail. This does not prejudge any adaptations that might be appropriate in case transitional arrangements were to be agreed in the second phase of the negotiations, and is without prejudice to discussions on the framework of the future relationship." End quote. This, of course, gives both parties the right to simply walk away, yet not quite so. The EU and the Irish tied this withdrawal agreement draft or not to the Belfast Agreement 1998. Since it is not for the EU to tell UK what to do and where to go, we did the next best thing. We made certain that UK cannot use the border issue as leverage. UK's GFA obligations negate such path, and we cut off the oxygen from any UK attempt to switch blame to EU. All that does not mean that the UK cannot walk away, but it simply then means that either UK then respects its existing international obligations and responsibilities, or it can crash out from international community, and join North Korea in the asylum. On top of all that, UK knows that if it intends to throw temper tantrums, EU can shut down the whole island by walking away on Brexit Day. UK has no plan, never had, and to blackmail EU by cutting off your own limbs, well, good luck. Posted on 12917-312 p.m. Set at Ronald Grunbaum. True, not only is Irish unification closer, but UK's breakup odds have increased enormously. Give knee special status, the Scots will bolt. Force knee behind a border, they bolt. Give knee and Scotland special status, London bolts. Add London to the list, Wales bolts. Gibraltar, almost certainly, will have a changed status when all this is said and done. So, unless UK can create parallel universes, in which each party lives in a different state of reality, or UK's Brexit follies will collide with reality. The latter seems to be the case. Posted on 12917-330 p.m. Set at Finn. Tied this withdrawal agreement draft or not to the Belfast Agreement 1998. How and what impedes this? All that does not mean that the UK cannot walk away, but it simply then means that either UK then respects its existing international obligations and responsibilities. I am not good with the GFA. What are the obligations? Posted on 12917-342 p.m. Set. UK now has to make up its mind how to proceed. But there aren't any good options. I'd only see 4 possibilities to move on. 1. Try to convince NE that it stays in some. 2. Accept a border in Ireland. 3. Try to fill the withdrawal report and stay closely aligned with frictionless border to EU. Whole EU be with frictionless border only in Ireland. 3A is not a Brexit. Not worth the effort. 3B implies that UK cannot make any sensible FTAs. Plus it loses its frictionless border to EU. Well, tough if it stays aligned. Complete crap. 2. Theoretically a doable way to manage a proper Brexit. Would it hurt GFA? I can't judge if this is a possible way for UK from a political point of view. 1. Possible, if the whole of Ireland changes its mind. But as Finn just wrote, and as we could, life, on Monday, it could lead to big problems inside UK. The amazing situation we have now is that the discussion in the first place should not be soft or hard Brexit, but how to Brexit at all. Posted on 12917-403 p.m. Set at Finn. True, not only is Irish unification closer, but UK's breakup odds have increased enormously. You obviously have no idea at all of the UK and inhabit some universe of wishful thinking. Time to go easy on the wacky backy. Posted on 12917-413 p.m. Set at TPK. I am no specialist either, but the following is, more or less, the gist of the matter. The Belfast Agreement, between the Republic of Ireland and the UK, is based on maintaining the then negotiated status quo on the island, which was and is only possible to achieve by both countries being in the EU, rather summoned CU, to be precise. Any action to change said status quo will have to be agreed to by the people of NE. This gives effectively a veto power for NE to unilateral changes. The GFA, also, has a clause that allows the NE to have a referendum on unification with Ireland. Demographics are making unification inevitable, but, of course, the EU membership made it wholly a moot point. Brexit changed everything. By tying UK's GFA obligations to its commitments in the withdrawal agreement simply strengthens the Irish case of making UK to come up with solutions. UK wants to leave, fine. Break the border status quo, own the breaking of GFA, and now the withdrawal agreement as well. The latter has little legal cover, but has enormous political significance. All about reputation and credibility. EU has negotiated openly, elegantly and fairly every step of the way, and got exactly what it aimed for. Excellent work by Barnier et al. UK, on the other hand, is a case study in hubris, ignorance, stupidity and Machiavellian greed and envy. Sad sight to behold. Posted on 12917-429 p.m. said at Klaus W. Quote, "You obviously have no idea at all of the UK and inhabit some universe of wishful thinking. Time to go easy on the wacky-backy." End quote. Enlighten me please. My wacky-backy is of great quality, thank you very much, but my wishful universe has no Brexit unicorns in it. Why don't you tell me all about UK, her? What do I miss? Making a statement without context seems to me to be just an empty slogan. Put some meat on the carcass, and we chat. Posted on 12917-442 p.m. said in a few years, Scotland will be free in EU, Ireland will be united in EU, and Brexit North England, swimming in chlorinated chicken, will rejoice in its global insignificance. Posted on 12917-515 p.m. said at TPK indeed, UK has tied itself into a pretzel. There are legal and political red lines, mutually incompatible, that the UK establishment has no capacity to solve, unless an honest conversation takes place. Hard Brexit means breaking the Belfast Agreement, no way around it, unless NE votes to unify with Roy. Problem solved. Is this viable in the UK? I doubt it. Any form of soft Brexit makes Brexit a pointless exercise in ideological lunacy, which it has always been, but now with real cost and consequence. But even with soft Brexit, the variations are complex and can cause significant rupture to the social fabric of the Union. Last Monday, when it seemed NE will get special status, look what Scotland, London and Wales did, and the ever-amusing DUP in NE. On top of everything, HMG still insists on exiting some and CU, yet somehow stay enough in, to fill the border obligations. Not doable, legally GFA and the queer politically Irish. Pretzel. The beauty is that EU has no existential need to meddle. We have now exposed UK's logical fallacy and have asked UK to propose solutions and solve its contradictions. This leads to the need of above-mentioned conversation in the UK. The clock ticks for all. Consequences of time running out, though, are not the same for everyone. Posted on 12917-551 p.m. said at Finn, you still can't see it, can you? Northern Ireland is not going to get special status. The UK is going to get special status. It will end up with a single market compliant economy like Switzerland, but without Swiss-style freedom of movement. The UK has run rings around you, using diplomatic reverse psychology. For a year the UK, realizing it cannot control EU migration from inside the EU single market, has publicly stated no single market membership, no ECJ and no customs union membership. It has allowed the EU to maneuver it into making a concession, which the UK wanted all along, namely being like Switzerland effectively inside the EEA via regulatory equivalence, but with no mention of freedom of movement or the ECJ. Obviously, the EU might come to its senses. It's hard almost not to sympathize with the EU at this point and block this deal. My prediction is that the UK will head this off with an offer to make modest annual contributions to the EU budget as Switzerland does now, but there will still be no ECJ or freedom of movement. In 10 years' time, the EU itself will enact treaty changes to the outdated freedom of movement principle, so the crisis of British exceptionalism will no longer annoy Brussels. Posted on 12917-718 p.m. said him, until recently your can't you see prediction was that May intended to be sent home from EU and go for no deal. Posted on 12917-729 p.m. said at Turnpike that could still happen and must surely be likely. But the dynamics then will be very different. The EU will be walking out on a British interpretation of a deal that has already been agreed in principle. Posted on 12917-750 p.m. said in the children's classic Alice in Wonderland, Humpty Dumpty says, words mean what I want them to mean. This new agreement is thick with fudge and words that mean whatever the reader wants to read into them. Put 3 native English speakers together and they will come up WTH 4 different versions as to what it all means. Presumably the wording will have to be toughened up considerably if and when a trade deal is put together, but up till then, nothing is decided until everything is decided. Posted on 12917-756 p.m. said I was thinking, what would political genius Donald Trump do to save face and move on? And it suddenly occurred to me that Theresa May could just say, we're out of the EU while still staying in the EU. Just don't show up at the council meetings for a while. Or convince the EU heads of state to schedule meetings on royal wedding days. Posted on 12917-834 p.m. said at wow. You're such a clown, honestly lol after your comments. Almost as funny as Boots' comment now make me laugh some. Cheerio now. Winner posted on 12917-926 p.m. said at Priscilla Dublou, I wouldn't let anyone but myself suck your tiny little cherries, booty. Okay, but I prefer it when you take your teeth out. Slightly smiling face posted on 12917-929 p.m. said you picked the fallen rotten cherries, why not try the ripe ones in the tree? Come and give it a try posted on 12917-932 p.m. said at Steuersklave Switzerland is in Schengen Accords. Freedom of movement is a fact. Come on, if your argument is based on Swiss model, got to know the basics. By the way, EU and Switzerland are moving closer to membership status. All the bilateral treaties, 100 or so, are being lined. The whole British immigration issue is a straw-man argument. It is just nationalistic and xenophobic drivel masquerading as a policy matter. The same applies to many parts of EU, I hasten to add, but nowhere are the governments blaming EU as the principal cause of said matter, but in UK. You poor lot could not even make a distinction between expats movement inside EU from traditional immigration. Polish construction workers, Portuguese NHS nurses, Romanian seasonal workers and Syrian refugees were lumped together, all treated as sickness to be gotten rid of. EU's immigration troubles will be managed better when we develop stability and prosperity beyond our borders. In the meanwhile, adapting in the real world is a must, instead pulling up the drawbridge and dream of sunny uplands and unicorns. Posted on 12917-1011 p.m. said at Finn I said the final deal will see the UK becoming like Switzerland, not identical to Switzerland. Switzerland, for example, does not have access to the EU financial services market. I agree with you about immigration being a scapegoat across Europe. I'm pro-Brexit and pro-immigration. You'll be surprised how many of us in the UK like the fact that Europeans have chosen to make their lives in the UK and dislike the EU at the same time. One thing that is different in the UK case is that intra-EU immigration to the UK was a political issue in a way that it has never really been in France and Germany. This is because the UK economic model is a poor fit for the EEA. We are a services economy, but there is no effective services single market in the EU EEA. We are also English-speaking, i.e., a low language bar for unskilled migrants. We also operate model of easy hire and fire, which generates lots of taxpayer-subsidized low and semi-skilled jobs, which have been mostly filled by EU migrants, often in conditions of obvious exploitation by employers. A French employer, given the highly stratified labor market in France, will always hire a robot over a person given the chance. A UK employer will always hire a person, which is one of the reasons for poor productivity in the UK. Posted on 12917-1031 p.m. said at wow, well I mean Priscilla impersonating wow, what do you mean, fallen cherries? They may hang low, but that's because they are and ripe. Slightly smiling face posted on 12917-1039 p.m. Said Finn I am surprised by your comments about Switzerland being likely to join the EU. They formally withdrew their application in 2016. Some 15 years earlier they voted overwhelmingly not to join, and that sentiment remains. The relationship was further soured a few years ago when the EU ignored their referendum to restrict migration. Posted on 12917-1058 p.m. Set by the way, I have no interest in it being anything other than it is. Brexit is raising this question. EU has no trouble having UK as a satellite to us. You follow our rules and regulations, contribute to the union, works fine, rule takers, in other words. I do not, for the life of mine, see how this is in the interest of the British people though, but that is not my concern. EU has already said that we have to honor our standing FTAs, MRAs and other treaties with our trading partners. This precludes EU's ability to offer many favorable terms to UK in a new FTA. Most modern FTAs include Most Favored Nation Status Clause. If I offer you a better deal than my FTA holding friend has, I have to match it. Thus expectations must be realistic. UK has to renegotiate 750 FTAs, MRAs and bilateral treaties that are void come March 2019. UK will need a decade just to catch up to where you left. Reverse psychology, yeah right. EU is devastated. Posted on 12917-1119 p.m. said at Tony I did not mean that Switzerland is becoming a member. I meant that the treaties are amended and improved to more closely follow EU norms, harmonization, if you will. If I recall right, this is done under EEA auspices. Yay, Swiss are not joining EU, but that is not an issue for me. I know EU would love it though. C'est la vie. Switzerland posted on 12917-1136 p.m. said at Steuersklave, nice to hear your take on immigration. And yes, people can have strangely contradictory views on life. I have my own portion of xenophobes in my family to deal with, who can be very pro and vice versa. I do not buy your economic reasoning though. UK's problems have nothing to do with the EU. Mismanagement of consecutive governments have left your economy very unbalanced. Just contrast the approach to North Sea windfalls from oil, between Norway and UK. UK cut taxes for the rich. Norway now has world's largest sovereign fund, for its people. When you sell state assets for peanuts and cut everything to bare bones in government services, you get Brexit. Have followed UK politics since the days of Thatcher. EU was always the enemy. Uninformed electorate is deadly for democracy. That is your real task in the UK, not to fight windmills of EU that are just not real. Posted on 12917-1154 p.m. said at Finn, you're right that the UK's economic problems are homegrown. But we won't have employers properly investing in training and productivity as they do in Germany as long as there are armies of Eurozone economic refugees willing to fill the gaps also from the post-2004 EU states. That's one reason why the EEA model is unsustainable for the UK. Posted on 12117-1226 m said at Steuersklave, they do get it, but it hurts to understand too much and remember the last 18 months for them. I understand this deal as Swiss deal with no freedom of movement. It is quite obvious. Swiss deal actually. This has been called cherry picking. For 18 months they have been saying no way the EU will do it. Now the EU have done it, when they assured us the EU would not. They are trying to say it shows UK needs EU, and how powerful the EU is. It is the same as UK said for the last 18 months. The UK as a best option wants a Swiss deal with no FOM and ability to trade with whomever in the world. And that's what the UK got, what it said 18 months ago, lots of cherries. Posted on 12117-702 m said UK gets best of worlds like Canada and Switzerland have got. Both much better performing and more stable economies than the EU 27 combined. Posted on 12117-705 m said at Steuersklave, you're right that the UK's economic problems are homegrown. But we won't have employers properly investing in training and productivity as they do in Germany as long as there are armies of Eurozone economic refugees willing to fill the gaps also from the post-2004 EU states. That's one reason why the EEA model is unsustainable for the UK, and herein lies the British problem, the different attitudes in training their own workforce and procedural differences. Germany faces the same armies of Eurozone economic refugees willing to fill the gaps, but their economy is booming, regardless. Germany, IIRC didn't live there already at this time. After 2004 implemented the 7-year waiting period, limited working permissions for workers from the Eastern European states. The UK, again IIRC, did not. Which means the present problem in the UK is mainly based on the UK's government's incapabilities and the lack of long-term planning, an ongoing phenomenon, it appears, lack of planning, not on the bloody dominant EU imposing immigration on the island. By the way, IIRC, it was the UK on the forefront who lobbied for Eastern European countries to join the EU. She even was promoting Turkey, just saying. Then, all of a sudden, this tsunami of East Europeans became one of the main topics for Brexit. Color me surprised, you reap what you sow. Posted on 12117-713 m said at Priscilla Du Blue, yes, that's right. Only Sweden, UK and the Republic of Ireland immediately opened their labour markets to the 10 new accession states in 2004. Sweden has a highly stratified labour market, meaning migrants are generally confined to unskilled jobs. There is also an internal language bar. Ireland is open like the UK but a massive recent beneficiary of EU membership, cap, structural funds, tax haven for US multinationals accessing the single market. The UK pressure for EU expansion was part of a traditional British foreign policy for a disunited Europe. The British view has always been that Europe is generally safer disunited than united. In my opinion, this view is pretty just. Look at the suffering caused by the likes of Charlemagne, Napoleon and Hitler. But it is of course complete heresy, and is yet another reason why the UK doesn't belong in the EU and why the EU integrationists should be relieved to have the UK on the outside. Posted on 12117-935 m set creative ambiguity has always been a fact of political life. It's how countries get by when they don't agree. My guess is that the Irish border issue will be fudged ad infinitum, and it won't really matter. Posted on 121017938 said at TP there already is no free movement of everything between Ireland and the rest of the EU as Ireland is not in Schengen. The Schengen border is the real EU border. There is already free movement between the UK and Ireland as we've had an international treaty since 1920 saying so. There is nothing to resolve. Cheerio now. Posted on 121017957 said please people try to stick to facts. Schengen is the real key here. I know the EU want to make it seem like it is difficult to leave the EU, but it is not. Ireland not being in Schengen makes it very easy. UK was never in it either. There is a border between Ireland and EU. UK-EU border too. That is why refugees are all camping in Calais and cannot cross to UK or Ireland. Please stop talking propaganda nonsense thank you kindly. Schengen area. The Schengen area is an area comprising 26 European states that have officially abolished passport and all other types of border control at their mutual borders. Cheerio now. Posted on 12101710001 said for God's sake, somebody pass Finamicky to shut him up. Posted on 12101711105 said at Mephistopheles for God's sake, somebody pass Finamicky to shut him up. Mickey Finn, drummer of Trex, a true 20th century boy grin posted on 12101711123 said at Stoyersclave essentially what General de Gaulle said. Britain prefers disunity in Europe because it likes divide and rule. A continent in chaos and at war leaves opportunities for Britain. As Orwell said, war is peace. Posted on 12101711224 said at Priscilla, Mickey Finn, drummer of Trex, a true 20th century boy. Actual Lucilla, I was thinking of the knockout drink. Posted on 12101712006 PM said at Mokdajern Teufelchen Mephistopheles, Mickey Finn, drummer of Trex, a true 20th century boy. Actual Lucilla, I was thinking of the knockout drink. I know, my dear, I know. But this was so shallow, even as a pun, that I needed to throw in some sophistication. My mom, in her very early teens, actually had a crush on Mark Bolan, which is why in our childhood, we also enjoyed some 70s Al Hayat tea. Posted on 12101712228 PM said at Jacques, essentially what General de Gaulle said. Britain prefers disunity in Europe because it likes divide and rule. A continent in chaos and at war leaves opportunities for Britain. As Orwell said, war is peace. Yep, only that the Maybot and her Keystone Cops completely misjudged their U-27 Stilco members since their strategy was an epic fail. Shows you that she has no real clue of what's doable and what not. She's a slow learner. Posted on 12101712335 PM said at Jacques yes, de Gaulle was right. He was right in 1940, right in 1962 giving up Algeria, right about being a sovereign state and refusing to cede power from Paris to Brussels, and he was right about the British too. Posted on 121017121 PM said it wow great news about the Access All Areas trade deal, I missed the announcement, was it on the BBC? Posted on 121017342 PM said the only way out for the United Kingdom to get their independence from EU regulations is to cut off Northern Ireland. It will forever determine what they can and cannot do vis-a-vis the EU. They need to dump the DUP at once and call their bluff. Then they need to join with Brussels and Dublin to announce a referendum for March 2021 for a united Ireland. The EU and the then Great Britain will have to underpin note funding of the transition for 10 years. There is no other way out. This is tossing a coin for two contradictory outcomes and this coin is not going to land on its edge however many times the Tory grandees toss it. Posted on 121017351 PM said at Mephistopheles quote. For God's sake, somebody pass Finamicky to shut him up. End quote. Haha. Is this where the UK has landed? Do a Cosby when your equipment, logic, fails. EU, even when high on every substance known to man, passed out in an alley, can handle British exceptionalism, but you seem to know that. Empty slogans for empty suits. Posted on 121017408 PM said at Daniel Crowley one of a number of obstacles to your great plan is of course the Belfast Agreement itself. Posted on 121017437 PM said at Allen one of a number of obstacles to your great plan is of course the Belfast Agreement itself. Not even the Roy wants knee. Obvious when it gave up its territorial claims in the GFA, slightly smiling face posted on 121017446 PM said at Daniel Crowley quote. The only way out for the United Kingdom to get their independence from EU regulations is to cut off Northern Ireland, end quote. While I agree with your premise of NE unification with Roy solving UK's border conundrum, a few things to keep in mind. First, UK cannot, unilaterally, hand over NE to anyone. NE has the right to make that decision themselves. A referendum win in NE, asking its people to unite with Ireland, is not a given. Demographic changes are good for unification, but at this moment in time, it is 5050 situation. NE did vote solidly to remain in the UK referendum, but that is not a guarantee for the result needed. Second, legally speaking, UK do not need to let NE go to achieve independence. It can approach NE as China does with Hong Kong and Shanghai, I believe one nation, two customs regimes. Third, would NE be able to get a special status within the new EU-UK relationship, or to unite with Roy, Scotland, and maybe London, would cause a major headache next. It is inconceivable that Scots would accept such endgame. It is insane that UK has plunged itself into Brexit without having had an honest national conversation about these matters and needs some sort of royal commission to study and make impact assessments and a plan of action. After, and only after that, a referendum. A soft coup d'etat by a fringe Tory cabal, that is Brexit. Posted on 121017-449 PM said at Fin under GFA, it is not just NE who get to vote on the future of NE but the entire public of NE and Roy. Your demographics would be lost as would NE. Luckily, Roy gave up its territorial claims over NE and recognized that UK has sovereign right over NE being a part of the UK. Only the UK can instigate a referendum on the matter, and it most likely won't ever do so as long as it suits them not to. Although Stormont could do what Catalonia did and hold one on its own authority, legal or not. Posted on 121017-514 PM said it mocked Eagernhalbgebilde Priscilla, do, blue, my mum, in her very early teens, actually had a crush on Mark Boland. Just goes to show that poor taste and education run in your family. Posted on 121017-615 PM said Boris hesitated between remain and leave. He had prepared two versions of his article in the Daily Telegraph. He now plays the role to frighten the EU into believing he wants hard Brexit to leverage Theresa May's negotiating position. It has worked wonder and will continue to deliver, as the EU are not humble enough to understand this. UK ultimate goal is to have ultra-soft Brexit at minimal cost, with possibility to negotiate deals directly with third parties meant for getting more regulatory concessions. DUP intervention led to confirmation of this endgame, and now UK will need to choreograph some disagreement and protest from the hard Brexiters. Gove and Boris' initial and genuine enthusiastic reactions though clearly demonstrate that there are playing roles. Barnier and Juncker will be remembered as the fossoyeurs of the EU, as UK deal will be so good that Italy, France, etc. will queue up to have the same exit deal. Boris, Gove and May are clearly much better than Trump at negotiating. And prepare yourself to EU offering all the no's they currently proclaim. Posted on 121017-1011 PM said EU offers Theresa immigration deal if UK remains in the EU. Immigration? Don't be surprised if this has something to do with Mighty trying to hang on to power in Germany, in her desperate coalition talks. Posted on 121117-105 said, Friday's agreement also gives welcome legal security to 3 million Europeans living in Britain and 1 million Britons dwelling on the continent. No, it does not. The Commission's proposal in May for my rights living in the EU have not been agreed to. Sacrificed. Posted on 121117-128 PM said it, Priscilla hates the English. Posts an English rock band. Treks, no wonder you go on a psycho rant sometimes. Cognitive dissonance is a terrible thing. Posted on 121117-328 PM said it, Priscilla hates the English, speaks perfect English. Posted on 121117-329 PM said it, Priscilla says Britain ain't nothing no more. Comes on an English, EU, website, speaking perfect English, posting English global pop culture. Bless. Posted on 121117-331 PM said, shush, don't tell him her the English invented modern computers she's typing on, Manchester Unibabbage and the global internet Tim Berners-Lee. It'll be too much for him her. Posted on 121117-334 PM said.